Aloha and welcome. Tiki Tuesday Talks 2021 edition. Hopefully a much better year. We're excited to welcome Selma. Selma, what's going on?
Hi.
Where are you right now?
I am in the office upstairs at Evil Twin Brewing, where my bar, Selma's Bar, is located. And we're brewing beers. There's a thick smell of hops and yeast in the air, so it's very special.
Nice, nice. What's your favorite Evil Twin brew?
Oh, last week we made a collab with Omnipollo in Sweden. That's kiwi sour. That's really, really lovely. It's a bright green beer. I like that one a lot, but honestly, I'm more of a just straight crushable Pilsner kind of girl myself.
Yeah, no doubt. Sounds like a good St. Patty's Day brew for you, though, you know?
Yeah, right? It looks like an extra cooler.
Love it. Mariel, what's going on?
Hi.
How you doing? Where are you calling in from?
I'm in New York, in my apartment. Still trying to be pretty socially distanced these days. So.
Right. You spent a chunk of time in the apartment.
Yeah, a lot. These walls are closing in on me. No. I try and get out into the West Side Highway and run every day. So.
Oh yeah, I used to live in the West Village, and I would be out there running every day. Is a stretch. Let's call it once a week, probably.
I mean, some days I just walk, but like I try and get once I'm out there. You know, it's pretty. Like I can go out to the piers, and there's nobody out there, so it's
so beautiful.
Pretty grand that they're out there. So
very cool. Glad to have you, Steva Casey.
Hi.
You're so tropical with your winter attire.
Imagine
it's a year in Bama.
Listen, it's like 40 degrees here, so of course everyone is bundled up. Marielle is from Birmingham, so she knows. It really was cold last week, which was great for the best holiday of the year, celebration. I don't know how you celebrated, but I was bundled up. So this is me right now.
Well, congrats on another Steve-abration and your big victory, Bama football.
Yeah, roll my
on your birthday. How about that?
I know, right?
What are the odds?
I know. Well, I'm used to it. I'm used to it being winter around my birthday.
Yeah. Cool.
So
I mean, normally I wouldn't support it, but anybody beating Ohio State, I'm good with it. So congrats.
Thank you.
Aaron,
what's going on? How is everybody?
Hey, I saw you on those videos on January 6th. You're trying to hide your face a little bit, but I was kind of like, is that Aaron Joseph?
Does this look familiar now?
Like, there it is.
We're good there. There you go.
Were you delivering cake collective to the Capitol, or what was going on?
No, I wasn't. I was trying to hydrate the public and aware, but certain people decided to take their own liberties and break into the Capitol, so I had to bail. Had to bail, but looking forward to this next gentleman joining the office tomorrow.
Yay!
See what happens. But no, things are great here in balmy Baltimore. I think it's 43 degrees, so we're a little bit warmer than Alabama.
Yeah, so, sun streaming in, looks good.
Yeah, working on my tan on my right side. Good sun.
All right, perfect. We'll check in with you guys shortly. All right, let's talk some stuff. Hold on. All right, Scandinavian Tiki. Selma, as mentioned, owner of Selma's Bar. I don't know where that name came from. And author of Spirit of the North, rad book on all things spirits of the Nordic lands, with a heavy focus on aquavit, which is obviously near and dear to my heart. For everybody, chat box and questions. If you're on Zavvi, hit us up. Or Facebook, same. I'll be interpreting those. Please do share the event. Presentation 30 to 40. Cocktail session 10. And then we'll bring Mariel back for that conversation with the Tiki fam. So just a little bit of background on Selma. hailing from a long line of sailors. This is new. I didn't know this, but super fun. Born and raised on the island. Can you pronounce the name?
Thurø. It means Thor's Island.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I looked at some photos. Looks super cool.
It's very nice.
Yeah, we should do it. A Tiki by the Sea Denmark edition over there on the island.
I would love that. I would love that so much.
Bartending 22 years, 12 of them in New York City. Tiki lover and keeper of Selma's Bar in Ridgewood. And again, check out the book Spirit of the North. So with that, let's bring you back. Let's throw your deck up here. Hi.
Awesome. Hi. Welcome, guys, and thank you so much for joining. I've been watching a lot of these Tiki talks, so first-time caller, long-time listener, and I'm really excited to be part of this. Thank you so much for having me, Pete and Stiva and Mariel and Aaron and everyone at the Tiki by the Sea team. I have so many wonderful memories from all the different things that you allowed me to be a part of, whether it was any of the Tiki by the Sea, New Jersey gatherings, the Hukilau alumni we did a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Was that 2019?
That was 2019. The intent was to keep doing it, but then, 2020.
Yeah, something happened. Exactly.
So,
but yeah, I'm so excited to continue or be able to continue to do these really awesome things with you guys. So yeah, I
really appreciate that. Really appreciate it. It's been rad having you.
It's been so much fun before.
Shout out to Chalky as well for
I was
this
about to say,
deck.
So Chalky, who's also been doing a Tiki talk and is doing Doom Tiki, as you guys know, has put together this whole slideshow and all the graphics for me because I'm no good with technology. Patient Pete, I call him, just spent 20 minutes teaching me how to work this also. So we'll see if I can figure it out. But why don't I start by saying a little bit about my background and how I got into Tiki specifically. As you said in your intro, I come from a long line of sailors, and everyone in my family, it's sort of in our blood to want to travel and explore the world and experience new cultures and everything. So when I started bartending in New York about 13 years ago, I think it is, one of my first bartending jobs was at Donna Cocktail Club, RIP. Another great bar that we lost.
Such a good bar, R.I.P.
Such a good bar. And this is where I learned a lot about rum, both Jeremy Ortel and both Jeremy Ortel and Lee Putman are big rum fiends, and my boss is taking photos of me right now. He's making fun of me. So I sort of got involved in rum and Tiki through there, and I was just so intrigued by it, the whole escapism and how much fun you can have with Tiki. I always loved that the Tiki culture is less serious. You're allowed to have fun. In 2012, when we opened Donna, it was very much the cocktail scene was very serious, and suspenders, and don't you dare make a daiquiri wrong because you will get murdered by someone.
Literally murdered.
Very, very serious. So I really love that,
daiquiri shootings of 2012.
I know. Oh my god. So I'm gonna learn how to. Boop, here we go. So
yeah, nice. By the way, I don't think I've ever been called Patient Pete, so thanks for that. I'm sure my fiance would disagree, but that's kind. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So anyways, the maritime culture of the North, and I don't know if you guys can read any of this, but a big part of Tiki culture coming to the Western culture or countries is obviously because a lot of sailors went out and they brought all these like new flavors and exotic things back home. And in order to do that, of course, you have to come from a sailor culture. And Denmark is about 500 islands of various sizes. You're never more than 30 minutes from the sea, no matter where you are in Denmark. So pretty much all towns are coastal, and everyone are fishermen or sailors and stuff like that. So we are going back to the Bronze Age and back in like Mesopotamia and this whole thing. Oh, great. Sorry about that. So back in the Bronze Age, there was a very important trade of amber, and the Nordic Bronze Age was the richest of all the different cultures, because we had this amber that all of these different other cultures are very interested in. So we started this whole trade of amber, and we traded with copper. They're not making faces at me at all. So anyways, there is the next slide I'm gonna see here. This is, we call them helleristninger, and these are old Bronze Age pictures, petroglyphs that they carved into stone, and there are thousands and thousands of those in Scandinavia. And the majority of them are showing ships. So even, 8,000 years ago, the Nordic countries and Denmark had a big sailing culture and history. You can see all these guys that are sitting in these boats, and they're probably on their way somewhere.
What are the exact years of this contextually for people who don't know on the exact dates of Bronze Age? What years are we talking here?
We're talking about there's the early, middle, and late Bronze Age. These started to sort of come around like 5,000 BC up until like 1500 BC. So we were sailing around and trading with other cultures and countries a very, very long time ago, where there wasn't a lot of like sailing and a lot of other like cultures. So they're looking like this. I'll show you the next slide. This guy, not sure what the upper guy is doing exactly.
Looks pretty
very
mobile.
Safe.
It kind of
yeah,
hurts.
there's a dragon ship. Hey. There's the old dragon shape on the ship. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's like 13 guys on there. There's some weird dudes with a hammer, and then there's a guy like jumping on top, being excited about something. So these are really, really old.
Is it possible they had daiquiris then?
I'm gonna say yes without knowing before, but I'm just assuming because of the guy dancing. And just, like these two guys in the corners kind of look like they're shaking cocktails, right? It looks like a little cocktail shake.
That is a good point.
Right?
Yeah.
So we're gonna assume they had daiquiris back then. Here we have picture of a Viking ship. Oh no. Are you guys there?
Yeah, we just lost you for 1 second. We're back.
But I think we're fine.
Back, yeah.
So here's a picture.
We're back.
Are you there?
Yes.
Oh, awesome. There was a little freeze, it looks like.
Yeah, it's lagging, but I think you're back now.
Okay. Hi, I'm back. So here's a picture of a Viking ship. And as you guys know, about 700, like the late 700s, the Viking Age started, and they just had this incredible technology hundreds and hundreds of years before any other country at that time. And they managed to sail all over the world. They made it to North America, the Arab countries, like all over the world in these like wooden ships that they built in a special way, and they had a huge fleet. So our whole like Scandinavian backstory is based on sailing and exploring, and in many ways also conquering, and we will get to that part a little later. But it's sort of in a many thousand years of history explains like how somehow like Scandinavian culture is a big part of that, like exploring and seeing new places and being interested in new places and cultures. So that's sort of how my mentality has always been about the run. It's very much also the seafaring, the exploring, and the like going to other places without being scared, just like fearlessly exploring the world. And that's sort of like my personal take on tiki, if that makes sense.
Totally. Yeah. And I think it is such an interesting part of Scandinavian history. It's something that certainly drew us in, with diving into creation of an aquavit brand.
Right.
A lot of that piece. So yeah, totally.
Yeah. And a lot of people obviously don't think tiki when they think Scandinavia, because for us it's cold and it's snowy and it's dark, and that's not what you think about when you think about exotic places and tiki. But there is that tie to it, for me at least, or a lot of Scandinavians, where for us it's more about the exploring and the sailing and the going new places. And to me, I think that's it's a really fun little side quest of the whole tiki culture.
Absolutely.
Change next. All right, part 2, guys. Scandinavia in the Caribbean. And that's something that was very important for me to bring into this Scandinavian Tiki Talks, is that I don't think a lot of people know about this part of Danish as well as Swedish and Norwegian history. But there is this dark part of our history where we had colonies and we dealt in slaves and spices, and a lot of people don't think that Scandinavians would ever do that because we're like so fast, like so forward and cultural and everything, but we all were part of that whole the 1700s where everyone sort of looked to England and everyone wanted to be them, and the royal houses was built up in the same way all over Europe. So we had Denmark colonized the West Indies islands of St. John, St. Thomas, and St. Croix. And let me move over to the next. There's a picture. This is of St. Thomas, I believe, with the Danish flags, the forts, and this one is the colonial. Sorry, it's so hard for me to say. This is the Danish West Indian Company that was built in 1692, and all of this is built, with the profits of slaves and sugar trade and cane, and there was slave auctions happening here. This is.
I'm gonna guess these are shots from Denmark, not the
Caribbean. Yeah, I'm
Caribbean.
so sorry. Yeah, I should have mentioned that these are all from Copenhagen. This is a picture of Børsen, which is basically the Danish stock. It's right on the water, the harbor. There's this beautiful spire that you can see that if you saw it up close, it's actually 3 dragons putting their butts up against each other, and then their tails are making the spire. And this one was built by Christian IV, sort of the Danish version of Henry VIII. He was this like larger than life king who built and did all these crazy things. And he was one of the people that started all of these. Let me see if I can get out of this. Yep, all good. I want to go to the next slide, and then there we go. This is a painting from, I believe it's 1798. I have to double check, but it's from a sugar plantation on the island of St. Croix, Scandinavian or Danish colony. So yeah, I don't know if anyone has any questions or anything just regarding that part of the Denmark's and Scandinavia's history.
A little bit about, so which islands had colonies, and do you kind of have a sense of how long they were under Danish rule and things like that?
They were from 1792 until 1917, where the United States purchased the Danish West Indies of St. Thomas, St. Croix, and St. John, and they're now American territory. I'm not sure if they still are.
I believe so.
Yeah. So slavery became illegal in Denmark and all the colonies in 1840. And since then, you know, obviously, as you see in American history, that doesn't mean that, you know, anyone necessarily got any better circumstances. But since then, there was they outlawed slavery, but that whole culture, that whole part of our culture, is when spices got introduced into the Danish cuisine. So a lot of traditional Danish pastries has like cinnamon and cardamom and all these things, and that's stuff that we introduced into our cuisine pretty much during those 250 years, 300 years of colonial times.
Got it. And what about other holdings, you know, in other places of the world, Africa or the Pacific?
Not really Africa. There was some trade going on. I think our biggest one is more Nordic places like Greenland, Iceland, Faroe Islands, that has been under Danish rule, and that goes back, you know, hundreds and hundreds of years back to when we conquered things. And again, you know, we invaded England, took huge parts of that. We come out and took what we like, Normandy, all those places. So yeah, we've been a colonizing or conquering people for many years, thousands of years. So,
it's good. It's interesting to have a little bit of the context from a Danish perspective, but I think for us, it's always important to recognize those realities, you know.
Right, exactly. And that was something, you know, I talked to you about, I talked to Chucky about it as well. I was like, I think it would be so wrong if I didn't just take a small part of this talk to acknowledge this past, and, you know, and that is a huge part of, you know, our history as well. Doesn't really overlap with Tiki necessarily, as, you know, I don't know if I mentioned this, but Tiki in Denmark isn't really a thing. Like, I hadn't really heard about Tiki other than some dive bars with like plastic flamingos and rockabilly people and really awful versions of, you know, Tiki drinks until I moved to the States. And that's why I was like, this would make so much sense in Scandinavian culture because of all these, you know, different ties that we have with sailing and with colonies and everything. And it's just not something that's ever taken off there. But my personal like segue into Tiki and Scandinavia has always been, you know, the exploring and definitely like Nyhavn, and, you know, after World War II, when we started like really sailing around and being part of that huge community of sailors that wasn't just neighboring countries, but actually all around the world.
Yeah, no, I mean, so, you know, you've seen some of the Tiki history elements, and there's certainly a component of it in Europe, but it's decidedly an American construct, you know, specifically a California-originated construct, having a lot to do with, you know, the end of World War II and things like that, amplifying it. So I think it's interesting to see the curiosity from people from South America or Europe about Tiki, interest in it. But I think it's relating to it is a little bit different than when you can relate to it from having grown up in the US and like
Right.
seeing kind of the end of it. For me, for example, it was the trappings of the end of it, experiencing that as a kid and then seeing a resurgence in it. But
Right.
yeah, I think it totally makes sense.
Yeah, and it's part of American culture in a way where, you know, there are tiki festivals and there are tiki nerds and there's old guys in Hawaiian shirts where, you know, at least in Scandinavia, our like post-World War going to other countries was going to, you know, Spain and Mallorca and Calella and all those places. So it's just like a different thing. Like we still traveled and saw new cultures, but it wasn't like we're not nowhere close to the Pacific or any of these like island kind of things. So ours was just like very, very different. Like we had like suckling pig and sangria. That was like our tiki in the 60s or 50s and 60s.
Interesting.
More or less, yeah. All right, I'm gonna do this one again. So part 3, the golden shipping age and industries. So Nyhavn, which is the old commercial harbor in Copenhagen. It was constructed by King Christian V from 1670 to 1675. Dug out by Swedish prisoners. Haha. And anyways, it's still there. It's still, you know, beautiful. There's a lot of history, and I hope you guys have time to read this beautiful little write-up that Chucky put together. I'm just going to leave it up for a little bit, but if you go there today, there's still these beautiful old houses. There's sail ships like schooners and everything in the harbor. There's all the old sailor bars that are still open years and years and years and years after.
Love a sailor bar. Totally into that.
Love a good, and that's the thing. Like that's all we have in Denmark is just sailor bars everywhere. And my first job was at a sailor bar. There's a pretty fun photo from one of the bars later on. There's a picture of my uncle and aunt dancing. It's pretty funny. We have the world's oldest still operating tattoo parlor is in Nyhavn. Nyhavn just means new harbor, and it's very much a spot now for both tourists and locals. You know, when you go there, they have all the little sidewalk like tables, and part of the setup, aside from, you know, a mise en place with a napkin and a water glass and a knife and a fork, every table has a little aquavit glass because it's just, you drink aquavit with everything there. So this is a picture of a whaling ship. The island next to my home island being Thurø, the island next to it, Tåsinge, is actually one of the most famous Scandinavian places of building wooden ships, schooners and such, in the late 1800s. And a lot of these were built as whaling ships. And this is where we, you know, really started sailing around the world and doing all these. This is a picture of Nyhavn, as I was telling you about. These are old, you know, 1700 houses, or from 16 and 1700s. Everyone is sitting on the pier and sailing around. It's super colorful. It's just very beautiful, and there's this like loose, almost like festival like vibe all the time. So there's always sailors hanging out that just got on shore. If you guys ever go to Copenhagen, you have to go there. It's so beautiful.
Yeah,
and great food. Really great food.
There's a question here, Selma. Yeah. Have you seen this kind of like, you know, travel to Spain, suckling pigs, sangria resurgence in the same way that we've seen a tiki resurgence? Almost not like nostalgia play.
But it's so funny. That's a really good question, because when I started getting interested in, you know, tiki and saw the connection with like tiki and the American culture to the Scandinavian culture and going to Spain and all those places, I thought it would be so fun to do something like this. But it is for us kind of like tiki up until, you know, not that long ago was considered almost tacky or kitsch. That is where, yeah, but that is where that part of our culture is now. Like, it's old people that does that. They take, 7 days at a awful hotel somewhere in Spain. They drive there by bus or take an airline, and then they have to do all these touristy things. But it would be really fun. I would love to do like a Danish like paella, suckling pig, sangria night.
Got it.
We should talk about that.
Here's another question about sailor bars. What spirits do they mostly serve at sailor bars?
Oh, we have some really good ones. So it's not whiskey and vodka and gin, maybe gin a little bit, but there's not really a cocktail or even like highball thing to it. It's mostly bottles of beer, and then our main shots are very much like bitters, kind of like, have you guys obviously have heard of Malort? We have one called Gammeldansk, Old Danish.
Mm-hmm.
We have one called North Sea Oil, which means North Sea oil. So it's these like bitter drams that are very like herbaceous and bitter and very strong, almost like Scandinavian Amaro, if you will, made with herbs. So it's that, and it's aquavit, of course. I mean, aquavit is so important to the Danish culture. Oh yeah, did that get turned out a little bit?
That's fine. That's all right. There we go.
Okay.
Back.
So yeah, snaps, as we call it, which is aquavit. We just call it snaps or dram, and those bitter little concoctions. Those are the main things that you serve there. And then what's that?
Steve and I are going to open a sailor bar with you. Just a sailor bar in Wildwood. We're doing a Wildwood sailor bar. Only
one of my first jobs in Sundborg.
I'm ready right now. Let's go. I'm ready.
I think that you and I would do really, really well as the bar maidens.
I am ready.
Yeah.
I love it.
Tom Nevagloski is going to be the GM.
Wait, what?
Tom Nevagloski, my dad's going to be the GM.
I'm into that. Oh, y'all already knows how to run a sailor place, almost like.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, can't be that far away from having a little cute hotel by the shore.
We'll put it right next to the dock where we take off to go whale watching.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, got to be on the water. Got to be on the water.
They all when the closing laws and the non-smoking bans inside happened in Denmark, they had to make a special law for sailor bars because most of them open at 5 in the morning if they ever open and close. Most of them just open always, and they couldn't tell these old sailors that they couldn't smoke inside. So now there's a law saying if your bar is older than 75 years and smaller than 400 square feet, then you can smoke inside. So we still have those,
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, it's there was a Wood she was an old Spanish woman of pleasure, if you will, and she met a Danish man, and this is the 50s, and she traveled to the island next to mine and opened her little sailor bar that was still a place. It's still open to this day, and I remember getting a job sweeping the floors and doing dishes there, or glasses, I guess. There was sand on the floor, so nothing would catch on fire, or it doesn't matter if you spill. That's
like the sawdust here.
Lots of those places.
All right, Steve, we'll be back to you. You'll be excited.
I can't wait.
Tammy did say she looks forward to your Danish tiki sangria night.
Yes, with a suckling pig, please.
With the suckling pig, yeah. All right, back to it. Back to our presentation. Regularly scheduled program.
This is a picture of one of the I forgot the word for it, but where you build ships. We call it a bath on the island next to mine. And all the islands pretty much that are of a certain size near where I grew up, all of them has like boat building places, shipyards, I guess they're called.
Yeah, shipyards.
Yeah. And now we come to part 4. Am I going too fast, by the way?
You're doing great.
Okay, great. So part 4, and this is where we come into kind of segue into the whole suckling pig and sangria party we were talking about. So, yeah, very important. I think this is just a suckling pig tiki talk. So Denmark was neutral during the Second World War, but you know we still saw a lot of you know, I don't want to say action, but it was still a lot of stuff going on in Denmark. Even though we were considered neutral, there was a lot of resistance. Only 5% of the Danish Jews got caught by Nazis because everyone in Denmark hid them and moved them to other places. So that also meant that a lot of the sailors, there was a lot of American and English sailors in Denmark, and that sort of made our world bigger and smaller at the same time, because all of a sudden all these Danish sailors could get jobs on ships that were sailing maybe to the Pacific or to America or to South America or anywhere like that. So that's sort of like when this part and also my personal history with sailors and tiki kind of starts. A lot of my uncles were sailors. I remember that 2 of them has been in the Danish Sailor Church here in New York after it got started in '57, and they always tease me with that. So that's like a big part of that. This is a picture on Nyhavn. That's the world's oldest still functioning tattoo parlor I was telling you about. It's called Oldest Tattoo Parlor. Still open to this day. You can see a bunch of young men and sailors trying to go in and get some tattoos. Nyhavn Sudden. And then we have this photo, which is my uncle in the middle dancing. You can see the name of one of my hometown, Svendborg, in the back. I don't know what the lady over there in the corner is doing, but she's biting her finger or something. And then you can see everyone is sort of just like dressed up as sailors, or maybe they're real sailers. But it's
you need to wear a sailor hat to go into a sailor bar.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it's a whole thing. So that's sort of like the vibe in these sailor bars. You know, there is real sailors, but it's also just like a celebration of our culture. Like our culture is very much a fisherman and sailor culture, and it's something that we are incredibly proud of, and something that we love to talk about and love to share with other people. So yeah, I really love this photo so much because it just
that's great.
Yeah, all our old golden age movies, like from the 50s and 60s, most of them are about sailors as well, like sassy sailors who are up to no good. And, yeah, that whole show. Yeah, we're gonna move on to this part that I'm very excited about. Traditional Scandinavian flavors and ingredients and how to use them for tiki cocktails. Chucky made these beautiful illustrations. And yeah, I always grew up like using a lot of the nature surrounding me, and it's like a very Scandinavian thing. You know, we have a close relationship with nature in Scandinavia. It's something that, you know, we are taught in school, and, you know, I was taught a lot by my grandmother. I wrote this book. I'm just going to put it up here that we were talking about.
Yeah.
Spirit of the North. Yeah. So this is very much a book. There are definitely tiki cocktails in here, but more than anything, it is, you know, an homage to Scandinavian flavors and the nature and the culture there. And I just think that you can do so much with flavors that aren't necessarily traditionally considered exotic. But the way I think about it is also like someone in Peru will definitely think that a Scandinavian flavor is very exotic to them. So
sure,
there's a way to sort of incorporate that in a way, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
And I think a lot of these flavors are somewhat exotic. Some are not, and some are to Americans. But we had Gunnar on, who's the owner and head chef of Agern in Iceland. He helped us with kind of botanical sourcing and blending on Svol. And I think he had like 75 slides of just like his culinary is like ingredient tours, basically. Like it's some place like 2.5 hours away that has the cows that he likes. And this, it's just really wild. And
it's just a very
pretty
Scandinavian
expensive, but pretty magical. We're on like a journey around Iceland. And
if you think of Iceland, where he's from, when you go there, it looks barren, it looks dark,
right.
But we have had thousands of years of experience in finding the right places and the right time of year to use these different things. It's really interesting because in Scandinavia we have shorter seasons and very, very shorter seasons than anywhere else. And that has sort of forced us to find other ways to preserve or pickle and sort of use time and darkness to our advantage. And the fact that, I went to Dill in November 19 when he had just reopened it in Reykjavik. And again, like being able to make so many incredible things from what just looks like a volcano crater from a distance.
Yeah, a rock with a bit of moss on it, basically.
Yeah, exactly. That's Scandinavian people. They're like, it's just moss. Well, I guess we're going to eat the moss then. Let's make it.
Yeah, I think it's a really good reminder that a lot of those ingredients are really driven by the place and the ingenuity. It's very impressive. I think we saw that with that. And when you think about it, what you're dealing with the amount of light that you get, the cold and all these things is
totally
pretty extreme.
Not a lot of light and not a lot of warm days in the year. But then, you can use moss, or you can use sheep dung. You can use so many interesting things to create new things. It's really funny. I like that so much. So there's obviously so many different flavors. A lot of them you can now buy online, and you can sort of like look into foraging apps and books. And if you find something that you think is interesting, like there's always Wikipedia, but I've just chosen a few of my favorite herbs. Obviously, there's so many Scandinavian herbs and berries and flavors, and we won't have time to go through all of them, but I've chosen a few of my favorites, and I just want to go through those real fast. The first one, the one with the little yellow flower, is wood sorrel, and you will actually see them also here in America. I've seen them on sidewalks here in Brooklyn, in the parks. It's this teeny tiny little plant that kind of looks like clover, like a 4-leaf clover or just a regular clover. And it's such a wonderful garnish, because if you eat one of these, and obviously always wash it first because they're usually in the same area as dogs like to pee, they have this beautiful bright citrus flavor. It just tastes like getting a squirt of lemon juice in your mouth. It's so good in salads, on fish dishes, and a wonderful garnish if you are making a cocktail that's like light and refreshing, and you want that little extra thing.
That's so interesting. I feel like I grew up in New Jersey, and I would see these all the time. And
exactly. They're everywhere. People think they're weeds. They're not weeds. They're edible, and they're amazing, and they're so delicious. This in the salad just like brings it up. The next one is obviously pine, and one of the things that is, again, as we were talking about earlier, is like the way that you sort of have to pick things in different times. So you can use pine needles to infuse or put in honey or distill with. And pine also makes these little like fresh shoots in January, March, in between there. And these fragrant beautiful little bright green shoots that you can just pick off the tree and eat. Like, it's so delicious. So that's a really fun thing. And I think this one, for instance, is really fun to use with like a rum, sort of like a rum agricole or something, because it's just like, it's vegetal, but not in the same way as the agricole. So it's just a really fun way to like get that other layer in there.
Or
it's
maybe a
almost like,
cachaça.
maybe, I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking it would be so fun to do like a weird Scandinavian caipirinha, but where you muddle these guys,
That's
with like sugar instead of lime. That might be interesting.
Yeah.
The next one we have here, sorry, over here, the one with the stalks that kind of looks like rhubarb, but it's not. That is lovage. So this is a dish that, or lovage, yeah, it's very traditional in Scandinavian cooking, especially in like salads and like greens with meat. It kind of tastes a little bit like celery, but like celery root. It doesn't taste like celery leaves. And this one, I think, is like wonderful as a garnish because it's super fragrant. And again, if you want to have something that has that like almost like earthen, beautiful like scent, I want to say, it's so earthy in a beautiful way.
This is
something dry, really dry.
We use this actually in full Swedish style.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it's so common in European cooking, but it's so unknown in the US. I basically, almost every time I describe the ingredient mix, the botanical blend, I have to explain what lovage is when I'm telling people about the Swedish style. It's really interesting. Yeah. But yeah, it's kind of that earthy flavor that's so unique and interesting.
And that's one of the things that are really like, you can find this at the Union Square Market, for instance. Yeah. Like, they always have that kind of stuff there. The one next to, the purple one is hyssop, which is very normal here in like, at least I've seen it a lot of places in North America. It has an almost anise kind of flavor. You can use both the flowers and the leaves. The flowers are, as you can see, gorgeous and really easy to use for garnishes. They have less flavor than the leaves. The leaves are a little more flavorful, a little more like herbaceous, if you will. And those things I really like with any kind of stone fruit flavor, if it's like pear or peaches, anything like that. It's not super like traditional tiki flavors, I would say, but it's still something where you can make something like beautiful, light, refreshing. And again, like, the flowers are absolutely gorgeous, I think. This one is tyttebær or lingonberries. And if anyone has ever been to IKEA, you know that we love this stuff. And usually it's made of sort of like it's made into sort of like a compo or jam. And you can make a lot of fun things with that. But actually the berries themselves are really, really, really incredibly dry. So if you just make a juice out of them, it has this like tart, dry, almost like a, like super, super dry. So the cocktail here is from my book. And this is almost like, it's so dry that it's almost like a Angostura cocktail. Like, it has that, almost like sucks out all of the wetness in your mouth. It's just so, so wonderful. So that's one of my favorite berries to play with, tyttebær. And then the next one here, which I'm really excited about sharing with you, is Seatbelt Thornberries. These grow on shrubs coastally in pretty cold climates. So it's something that you see nature in, of course, Scandinavia. I know that they're growing in Canada as well. Finland, places like that. those there are fresh and they're really delicious. I have some dry ones here. I can sort of show you.
Let's zoom in for you. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they look like little weird.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
Ways. This is in part of the ingredients in one of the cocktails. One Seatbelt Thornberry has as much C vitamin in it as 1.5 whole lemon.
Wow. Yeah, we actually explored this as a botanical. We found it interesting, but we didn't end up using it. It was something that Gunnar was really keen on, and I think it could be really cool in the right botanical blend, but it didn't feel appropriate for what we were looking for.
The next one we're gonna make, the next swole, it's gonna be something like that.
Could be the Sailor Bar version.
Sailor Bar version.
We already wanted to make a maritime one, so you're speaking my language. That's the official goal of the Sailor Bar.
They only grow coastally near the ocean. As I said, they're packed with C vitamin, which living in a country where we have, almost no daylight half the year, no D vitamin, like getting stuff like that in our body is something that's been part of the Nordic countries' way of dealing with the darkness for years and years and years, like thousands of years. And they're just so delicious, and they're like really tart. But in the reason why I love working with these in tiki is because when you eat one of the berries, they actually have a very tropical tartness. Like it tastes like a passion fruit almost. Like it doesn't taste like citrus. It tastes like a tropical citrus. So they're really easy. The cocktail over here is the Cocker Spaniel cocktail. It's a tiki cocktail I made for the book, and it has Seatbelt Thornberry syrup as well as 3 kinds of rum. So it's sort of like a very tiki cocktail-y, traditional. Cool. Yeah. But I would definitely say if you guys can get your hands on either dried or fresh Seatbelt Thornberries, that is the easiest entryway into sort of, the Scandinavian flavors in tiki, I think. And then lastly, again, Chucky, thank you so much for making these beautiful slides. Tack ska du have. It means thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Svole and Pete and Stiva and Tiki by the Sea and Chucky and everyone who tuned in. It's been so fun. And you guys can follow me on Instagram. And if you ever have any questions,
we gotta make your cocktail. Don't get.
No, I just wanted to say if people want help finding some ingredients or anything, I'm not going off, I promise. But if anyone needs help ever finding any Scandinavian ingredients, I've been making Scandinavian flavors here in New York City for many years now, and I have some sources. Anything, just reach out, and I'm more than happy to help you guys.
It's awesome. That contact info is here if you guys want to get in touch. And I think it was something that was so interesting for me when I fell down the rabbit hole of aquavit, like all these flavors. I mean, I remember sitting with Gunnar and he brought in like 60 different botanicals or items or what have you, right? And like I'd heard of half of them probably, and we're sitting there like tasting, smelling, all these different things. So it's just, I feel like I've still only hit the tip of the iceberg on it. So super super fun. All right, let's put that cocktail up.
All right. So
I'll throw it up first. You want to talk about it, and then then we'll zoom in for you to do it.
Yeah, I really want to talk about this cocktail really fast, actually, because this is one of the first tiki Scandinavian cocktails I ever made, and it started out with me missing certain Scandinavian flavors. A lot of them my mom could send over, I could bring home, but I had this one popsicle from my childhood that obviously you can't bring popsicles like all this way over. So I've always been trying to recreate this flavor, and this is the closest I ever got to it. It's sort of like a Scandinavian Mai Tai-ish cocktail, or at least more or less follows those specs. And it's named Freydis. Freydis is, again, something that I think is very appropriate with what we're talking about today. We're talking aquavit, we're talking North America, and we're talking Scandinavia. Freydis Eriksdottir was the sister of Leif Erikson, and she came here with Leif Erikson and his Vikings when they came to North America in the year 1000. So she was, you know, one of the first white women or Scandinavian Caucasian women that set foot here. She came here, and the story goes that she was 8 months pregnant, and one night the skulling, or the Viking word for the natives, attacked the encampment that they had put up. And Leif Erikson and all his Vikings had never seen these like dark people before, and they freaked out and was so scared. And she yelled at them. She said that they were wuss and not men. And she exposed her breasts, grabbed the battle axe in each hand, and charged the Skullings, the natives, and scared them off. And then she lived here for about a year with Earth and went back to Scandinavia. But she is very much a part of Scandinavian intertwined with North America. And I think that was a very, very fitting name.
Got it. Cool.
Yeah.
Let's zoom in here. Let's make this drink.
Let's do it. I have a sore arm, so it's hard for me to lift this bottle. A little baby now. So we're gonna start with this lovely Avoir, and the Prata is just like one of my favorite ones to mix with because it can hold its own, but it also gives you room for other flavors in the cocktail, which of course is super important, especially in a tiki cocktail where we like to put a lot of flavors in. So we're gonna do food.
Yeah, thank you. And that's certainly one of the things that we tend to focus on with it. You know, there's character there, but very flexible and plays
Very
well.
flexible, yeah. Oh, it smells so good. It's so weird to sit down and mix. I don't think I've ever done this.
Yeah, it's funny. I think it was weird because I think we've had one person stand up at a bar and make a drink.
Yeah.
And it was actually weird because I've seen so many people sit down making drinks throughout this process that I was like, oh yeah, that's how it looks.
Yeah, but it's just so weird. Like
I know, I'm sure.
Not like standing, like I can't even hold a jigger right.
It's all right. It's all right.
Don't call it on. So of course the Svol Danish style aquavit. I will admit this once and then I will never say it again, but I also like the Swedish style very much. And that's it. That is it. I love the Danish caraway forward. It almost has this like warm bread kind of thing going on. I really like it both with dark rums as well as light rums or anything like that. It's just brings a lot of like warmth to the cocktail, which I really, really love. Then I have been, you know, there was not a lot of room on this table, so I pre-bottled a lot of the other ingredients. So we have orchat, and we're going to take a little bit of that. Oop. We got fresh lime juice, importante. Yeah. Got a little bit of Aperol. I tried other things. I just really like Aperol in this cocktail. It's just makes it a cute color, gives it a little bit of bitterness that goes super well with, you know, both the aquavit and the Avoir, and it just fits so well. And then lastly, this is Thurø. It's a Seatbelt Thorn eau de vie, and we actually make it in this building.
Oh yeah, I was wondering about that actually.
Yeah, so you can find something similar. You can also do your own infusion or a syrup if you don't want to add more alcohol. So basically what we have in 2 rooms over where my Donald Trump pinata is singing currently is we are using a vacuum distilling process. So we have roto wrap in there, and we are making a lot of ODVs in-house. It's not something that we are, necessarily going to do commercially. It's just something that we do to have fun and, make our own fun little concoctions or whatever. So this is so citrusy. So basically,
that's cool. You're gonna have to send me some of that.
I would love to so much. So we just took these dried Seatbelt Thornberries and put them in a overproof grain spirit. And what we do is we do 120 RMP and just let it go through. One of the things with vacuum distilling is that because of the vacuum, you are able to distill at a much lower temperature, which means that then a lot of the flavors will stay in. That's a lot of technical stuff that I'm just learning about right now. So try not to have too many questions about that, I will say. We are gonna do a little bit of crushed ice that I brought here. Excuse me. Should I do this a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
You
We
guys
know what's going on.
There you go. I'm gonna ice my glass. There you go. And I'm gonna do a little shake. Oh.
Very subtle, very dainty.
Yeah, right. Like, all right, we're gonna pour it over, and it has this. First time I made this, actually, my coworker said, "Oh, it looks like flesh." I love it because it has this color.
Wow, that's creepy.
I'm gonna add some more ice, and then as you can see in the photo, usually I would garnish this with fresh seasonal flowers and a few skulls I have lying around, but it's not really flower season, so we're just gonna do some straws and fake flower. That worked. No, I don't like that. There you go. And then we have a little
fantastic. Oh, there you go. Make it a little tropical. Lovely. Very cool.
Oh, that's good. Holy moly.
It's funny actually. The original reason that we ended up falling in love with aquavit is people were split basing Avua and aquavit.
Yeah,
like
they're so well
cocktails, and it was just like, what's going on here? Enough to be like, what's happening here? And that then fell down the rabbit hole. But they really work well together, which is like not. Even though it's self-serving, it's funny. They really do work well together.
And who would have thought that, traditional spirits from so different locations would just complement each other so much.
Yeah, it's crazy. Their relative understanding in the U.S. is very similar, I think, and the trajectory of them are so similar, but the flavor profile and the history couldn't be further apart, basically,
Yeah. True. Steva wrote in the chat that there's a question from Chucky. Are you seeing that?
Yeah. What's your favorite cocktail to introduce people to Scandinavian flavor profiles? Great question.
Yeah, it is a really good question. And that is, I would say a Mai Tai. Because there's a lot of those flavors that you can sort of copy into Scandinavian flavors, almost like, instead of having a dry rum, I'm using Avua and I'm using aquavit, and it works really well in the specs. So a Mai Tai style, or one of my favorite tiki cocktails in the entire world, which is a Saturn. Saturn is, of course, traditionally gin-based, and aquavit is just the Nordic gin. That's the way I think of it. So I would say a Saturn, if people are feeling adventurous, that's my go-to. And if people are a little more traditional, probably a Mai Tai style.
Cool. Yeah, dig it. Totally. Awesome. Well, very cool. Thank you. We'll bring you back to say goodbye. Super rad hanging with you.
So nice.
Glad we got to do this. We'll see you in a moment. All right, we're getting Mariel in. Hi. You're muted. There we go.
Sorry.
What's happening?
Not much.
Thanks for being patient.
Oh, that was great. That was so interesting. I loved it. I took
Yeah,
lots of
it's funny because I learn about this stuff too, and in theory I should know this stuff, but I'm always learning too. It's very fun.
Yeah, that was great. I loved it.
Yeah, I can't wait to try this eau de vie situation.
Yeah.
Give me some of that.
Saw it on the menu at the Sailor Bar in Wildwood for sure.
I'm ready to open a Sailor bar right now.
I know you are. I was like, let's get your name written all over it.
Right?
I'll
Right?
move to New Jersey.
There you
Yeah,
go.
right?
Hey, simpler life. Everybody's down with the simpler life.
After 2020, I think we've realized, let's be in a smaller city. It ain't that bad.
There you go.
Right?
There you go. All right, cool. Let's hit it. 5 questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Favorite quote from Steve Casey?
Oh, well, something about feeding us,
See,
Like,
Everybody says.
I know. Bless your heart.
Oh, that's a good one. There you go. There you go. Totally not condescending at all.
One time,
Not at all.
she was sitting at my bar one time, and back when I was in Birmingham, and she said, Marielle, you're one of the cutest people I've ever seen bartend, and I'll never forget that. Really, Steve Casey thinks I'm cute?
There you go.
Birmingham scene. So
Very good. Very good. All right. Favorite meal in Wildwood that my dad did not make.
oh, the place we went to, the roast pig dinner.
Beach Creek.
No, yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, that place is rad.
But yeah,
Chris,
your dad
what's up, Chris?
delish.
Hope he's doing well. All right. Weirdest thing you saw in Wildwood. Weirdest.
Mostly just like the people that were on our trip. No, I'm just kidding. The humans. No, I don't know. I
haven't heard that one.
a snapshot of like one particular part of Americana that I had never seen before, so it was just different for me.
Yeah,
it was.
fair.
I want to go back. And your parents.
Yeah, I didn't think it was weird until I left, and I was like, wow, this is actually a really weird place. It's awesome, but it's very strange.
In general, is like this. Like my boyfriend and I go out every year at least once to the Jersey Shore. Not last year, of course, but I just think the whole Jersey Shore is sort of like that. But Wildwood especially was like a snapshot of a time period, and I like that they've embraced it and haven't really tried to change it too much. So
yeah, there was a moment where it got kind of touch and go, and I think the cooler heads prevailed. Yeah, which is good. But yeah, it's funny. It reminds me of, I remember hearing from Chris, who owns Beach Creek. He said there were some guys who came by. I don't know if they were firemen or something. And they were like, man, we're driving by the Barcelona. There's a bunch of hipsters wearing Hawaiian shirts. I don't know what the hell's going on. Hipsters in Hawaiian shirts.
Yeah,
perfect. All right. Favorite memory for Peaky by the Sea?
Honestly, it's hard for me to say like my most favorite memory, but I just made some really amazing friends. The girls that I spent in the hotel room with, like we're all very close, and I just made some really great friends. That was my favorite experience, and I learned so much about a category like rum. For me, is not a category that I had studied a whole lot up on before I went, and so it definitely the knowledge I gained from it was invaluable. So I just did, I'm a note taker. I really like to learn, and so I still have those notes, for reference.
That's awesome.
I just enjoy it so much.
Yeah, I mean it's cool to see that And that's been an evolution of it. I feel like people take it more and more seriously every year, which is great because that's really the core of it is learning.
It is. It was great.
So we obviously want to have fun, want to see some weird stuff, hang out with my dad, but yeah. All right. Tell me, last question. What are you looking forward to the most in 2021?
Well, getting my vaccination.
There you go.
And then I'm hoping by the end of 2021, I can go to Mexico City. We were supposed to go last year. That I would really like to go to Mexico City this year, but I'm turning 40 this year. So
me too.
The celebration will be halted until we are safely able to travel. So and I would like to come back to Birmingham and chill. I came home for Christmas, but stayed in our little pod, our family pod. So would definitely like to safely travel home and see all my friends and visit their bars that I've never been to. I haven't been home really in 3 years. So
got it.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's it. Travel.
Yeah. Get that booster shot and come see us.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Selma just got her first one, right?
Yes, I got my first vaccine on Sunday.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Starting to happen.
Seriously, I cannot wait to get the last one, and then I'm gonna come visit all of you guys, and we can open our sailor bar in.
Sailor bar. Wow, with
Ready.
Should we just call it the Sailor Bar or Sailor Bar?
Yeah, call it. Yeah, I think that's a really Sailor Bar. That's perfect.
Yeah. There's no reason to complicate it. Aaron, you gonna work at the Sailor Bar?
I'm good with it. I'm good with it.
All right, cool. We'll pour a cane too. It's all good.
It's all good.
My mom and dad has been watching this whole thing. They've been watching all the photos that we ever did at the different tiki by the sea, but they are sitting right now on my home island and been watching this whole thing. And
Nice.
Yeah, hi, Canadian. Hi.
We're coming at the end of the year. We're gonna be over there.
They want me to say hi to all of you guys, and you can come visit on home island anytime you want.
Very cool.
I'm on my way. My way.
Ready. So ready.
Hi, Moa. High five.
Hello. Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. Always a pleasure. Have a good one. We'll be back soon, probably in a couple weeks. More info TBD on that shortly. So good luck with it. Get vaccinated. We're turning the corner. Let's make it happen.
Let's go.